13 spine-chilling paranormal encounters exposed, terrifying ghost stories to haunt your dreams. In the quaint neighborhood of Maplewood, Illinois, an invisible force waits, hungry for souls. Sarah had barely unpacked before the chaos began. Flickering lights danced in the corners of her aging house, casting sinister shadows on the walls. Jake giggled in his room, but Sarah felt a chill race down her spine. What was he laughing about? This house wasn't just old, it was alive. The whispers crawled beneath her skin, urging her to listen to fear. Their first night, as the wind howled outside, Sarah lay in bed, her heart pounding relentlessly. The hushed murmurs echoed off the walls, taunting her. She sat up, reaching for the lamp, but it flickered violently before plunging the room into darkness. Just the old wiring, she muttered, gripping her sheets. But deep inside, dread coiled around her like a snake. Was it truly just the house? Or something more? Jake's laughter filled her ears once more. "Mom, can you hear him?" His wide eyes gleamed with an excitement that made her stomach churn. "Who, honey?" she ventured nervously. "My new friend from the attic." A cold sweat dribbled down her back. The attic? They hadn't even explored it. Who was this friend? Panic clawed at her throat. That S when she decided to venture into the unknown depths of their house. As she climbed the creaking stairs, each step felt heavier than the last. When she finally reached the attic door, it loomed ominously, the handle ice-cold under her trembling fingers. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the door creaked open, shadows writhed like tendrils of smoke. The faint scent of mildew mingled with something metallic, something ancient. No toy to play with here, just dusty old trunks covered in cobwebs. And yet, she could sense the oppressive presence of something darker lurking within the corners. Her heart raced, eyes darting, yearning for escape. That night, as Sarah struggled to fall asleep, she caught fleeting glimpses of a tall, shadowy figure drifting through her hallway. It felt as though it was waiting, stalking her every move. Just my imagination, she told herself. But deep down, she knew it was far from it. Jake continued his bizarre chatter, engrossed in tales that didn't make sense. "He says yes, nice, mommy," he'd say, his innocent eyes misted with something that sent a shiver through her very core. The walls felt alive, whispering her deepest fears as reality began to splinter into madness. And the more she tried to protect him, the more he slipped away into the dark abyss of his own mind. The silence was deafening, a siren in the night. Each corner of their once welcome home became a prison, an encroaching web tightening around them both. And then they fell silent, shackled to the horrors hiding beneath the surface of Maplewood Point. One evening, as the desperation clawed at her, Sarah had every intention to flee this nightmare. But as she reached for Jake, he lay deep asleep, and she could not wake him. The shadows spoke louder, swirling and coiling tighter, revealing dark truths that threatened to consume her. Peering through the window, she spotted the sheriff standing on the street, eyes piercing and knowing. Panic set in. Who could she trust? The very foundations of her new life trembled, and it became clear the true horror had only just begun. The following nights crawled by, each one more suffocating than the last. Shadows flickered and whispered menacingly, feeding her fears while Jake's laughter echoed through the house like a sinister melody. The nights merged into a singular state of dread, a constant fight against the unseen forces that churned at the edges of her sanity. As Sarah sat in the living room one evening, clutching a cup of cold coffee, She noticed the wall clock ticking louder, rhythmic and foreboding. It seemed to pulse in sync with her racing heart. It was almost as if the house itself had a heartbeat. Then she heard a faint tapping, like fingernails scratching against wood. Her breath caught in her throat. She had dreaded this moment. The attic door still stood ajar, a gaping maw inviting her back into its suffocating darkness. Was there truly something dwelling within? "Jake?" she called, her voice trembling. But he didn't answer. Panic clenched her gut. Rising slowly, she made her way toward the attic, the creaking floorboards beneath her feet a lament of caution. Each step felt like a step closer to a cliff, teetering on the edge of knowing. Swallowing hard, she reached for the cool, tarnished handle. Would her sanity survive another exploration of this cursed space? With a deep breath, she pulled the door open wider. The shadows inside thickened, almost reaching for her. She peered into the dark, her heart pounding furiously. "Hello?" she whispered, the word quivering in the stale air. Silence swallowed her. Then she heard it again, the giggling. It was Jake's voice, higher and more ethereal than before. Curiosity mingled with dread, urging her forward despite the warnings. "Jake?" As she ascended, the heaviness of dread clawed at her. The temperature dropped as she crossed the threshold. She shivered, the cold deep within her bones. The attic morphed into a different world, untouched and hushed, almost sacred. But that laughter? It echoed like a child's lullaby twisted into something sinister. Suddenly, her eyes fell upon strange markings scrawled on the wall, symbols that didn't belong anywhere in the world she knew. Old, ancient, and dark. A sensation of dread enveloped her. She stumbled backward, barely catching herself as panic surged through her veins. "Mommy!" Jake's voice rang clear, laced with urgency. It was coming from behind a stack of boxes hidden in the dim corner of the attic. "Jake!" she yelled, scrambling to reach him, but her limbs felt heavy, as if the air thickened around her. She tore the boxes away, revealing a darkened space. The laughter twisted into frantic sobs, and her heart dropped. Where was he? As she peered into the shadowy void, she saw a figure, not Jake, but another child. Dark-haired, pale, entranced by something invisible. It turned toward her, eyes hollow, yet filled with mischief. "He doesn't want to leave," it whispered, an otherworldly sound that sent terror rivulets racing through her. "Jake!" Desperation clawed at her throat. But just then, Jake's laughter erupted again, louder, and for a moment, she thought she heard him say, "He is right here, Mommy. He is playing with me." The sickening thrill of panic gripped her heart as realization came crashing down. Moments ticked by like an eternity, as shadows swirled tighter around her, the sinister voice echoing against the walls like an ominous warning. Her mind raced. Could she unravel what bound Jake to this figure? Suddenly, the attic door slammed shut behind her. The sound reverberated. Darkness encased her. She was trapped and the laughter had stopped. And just when she felt she could go no further, a soft whisper tickled her ear. "You should have listened. What did it want?" There was no escape. Her sanity was slipping, and time was running out. In the suffocating dark, she felt the weight of its presence pressing closer, drawing nearer. "Help! Please!" she gasped, but maybe there was no help coming. Only the twisted games of the shadows, and the anguished cries of a frantic mother, who unwittingly unleashed a horror beyond imagining. An eerie sigh flowed through the air, ringing with finality and dread. You have to choose. What choice? Nothing made sense. She needed answers. But answers could come with terrifying price tags. And what price would she pay for her son's freedom? The wall shifted, constricting, leaving her breathless. And then, a flicker of light appeared just out of reach. Would it lead her to salvation or deeper into despair? The flicker of light pulsed again, beckoning her closer. Hope surged through Sarah, slicing through the oppressive darkness. She reached for the glow, but each step seemed to summon more shadows, swirling as if they had a will of their own. A chill raced up her spine. "Jake!" she cried out, desperation flooding her voice. "I'm coming!" The attic seemed to respond, creaking and groaning in discontent. The air felt heavier, thicker, like it was laced with malice. The light flickered once more, casting odd shapes on the walls, revealing veins of shadow that writhed deeply, almost alive. Fear gripped her heart as she took another step, closer to the source of the light. Suddenly, the room echoed with an unsettling laughter, the voice resonating through the wooden beams. "Come play with us," it teased. She shivered, terror crashing against her resolve. "I want my son," she shouted, voice trembling, defiance battling with dread. "I'll find you, Jake." The laughter faded, replaced by an eerie silence, cold and sickening. The flicker transformed into a steady glow, casting pale light over remnants of a forgotten world. Shadows strained against the walls, stretching like limbs reaching out for her, brushing against her skin. She felt them coil around her legs, thick and suffocating, pulling her down. Her heart thundered in her chest as she wrestled against the darkness, the cloying grip trying to hold her in place. She couldn't succumb, not now. Not when Jake was so close. "Let him go. You can't keep him," she yelled, forcing each word through gritted teeth. The air around her shivered, and she thought she felt something brush her cheek, a breath, lingering, ghostly. The pale figure of the other child appeared again, her hollow eyes fixating on Sarah. "He won't leave," it whispered, a shiver-inducing sound that ricocheted against the walls. "Not until he knows what." Sarah swallowed hard, dread pooling in her stomach like poison. "What does he need to know?" The child's expression twisted, amusement mingling with malice. "What happens if you choose wrong?" The heavy weight of the room pressed against her, memories of long ago desolation crushing down like a coffin lid. The pattern on the walls wound like chains around her, tightening, compressing her thoughts. Nothing made sense. Time twisted, turning moments into a haunting echo. And then it hit her deeply, like the worst kind of slap, a chilling realization that each ghost story had a choice. A choice to wander or to flee. Those who chose wrong didn't just disappear. They became part of the dark, echoes of laughter and cries trapped inside. "Jake!" she screamed again, raw desperation burning through her voice. She searched the attic frantically, eyes darting from shadow to shadow, grasping for any sign of him. Suddenly, in the dim light, she caught a glimpse of movement, something shifting like smoke. A shadow played across the wall, but as she turned toward it, it disappeared like a heartbeat that had stopped. "Where is he?" she demanded, panic swallowing her words. The air buzzed ominously, almost laughing at her anguish. "Choose," the child echoed, leaving her breathless and filled with dread. A cacophony of voices surged around her. "What will you sacrifice?" they whispered, an unholy choir of the damned. Sarah's heart raced. Would it take Jake's laughter if she chose? Would it consume them both? Was this the true price of freedom, to sever the very bonds that held them together? As the walls pressed nearer and the shadows flared with sinister brightness, her world began to tilt into madness or hope. And just then, the attic began to tremble, the air electrified with a terrible decision looming above her. "Choose wisely," the voices droned, the chilling words lingering like smoke in the air, as she stood on the narrow edge of darkness and dread. What was she willing to sacrifice to save her son? Time dragged, stretching reality into a taut wire, waiting for her answer. In that moment, with the dim glow flickering like a heartbeat, she understood the haunting truth of choice and what lay ahead. If she chose poorly. And as the clocks chimed, marking the passage of time, she felt the pull of the darkness anew, urging her to decide. Would she let the shadows take her son, or would she fight the dark to the bitter end? The tremors intensified, vibrating through the wooden floorboards. sending a cascade of dust swirling around her. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest, the din of the voices merging into a chaotic symphony. Each whisper felt like an icy hand wrapped around her throat, squeezing tighter. "Jake!" Panic laced her voice, but in the heavy air, it felt small, insignificant. The shadows danced closer, the laughter echoed, and the child's hollow eyes watched her with a predatory hunger that made her skin crawl. "What do you want from me?" "Everything," the pale child said, tilting its head. An unsettling grin spread across its face, all sharp angles and dark intentions. Everything for him. With every agonizing second, the weight of the darkness grew. She felt it creeping, pulling her toward the decision she had to make. Desperation constricted around her like a noose. What did this twisted choice mean? Would she be forced to sacrifice herself to save Jake? The light flickered again, drawing her eyes to a dusty corner of the attic where a child's toy lay broken and forgotten. A doll with glassy eyes stared back at her, a reminder of innocence lost, echoing her unending dread. "I want to give in," she yelled, the words almost lost beneath the whispers that whirled around her like a storm. "Free your son!" The unseen chorus chanted, growing louder, drowning her in a swell of fear. It was as if the shadows were daring her to act. "But what will you give?" "You don't get to decide," Sarah screamed back, defiance bubbling up like a rising tide. "I will not let you take him." In a flash, shadows plunged toward her, wrapping around her body like snakes, tightening their grip. The chill raced through her veins, dark and suffocating. She was losing control, losing herself in that dreadful moment. "What do I have to do?" she uttered, voice shaking, filled with a raw desperation she hadn't known existed. "Your choice." The voice of the child slithered, slick and cold. "What will you sacrifice?" The air turned thick, almost gel-like, making each breath a labor. Her mind whirled with fear. The thought of losing Jake sent her on a dizzying spiral. The broken doll, a symbol of the darkness, began to tremble, as if alive. Could she really trade something from her own soul? What mattered more, her life or his? Suddenly, Sarah found herself surrounded by dark shapes, their eyes glinting like shards of glass, watching, whispering, taunting. Memories of Jake's laughter flitted through her mind, warm and bright, so different from the chilling embrace of the shadows. That laughter was life. She would do anything to hear it again. "I will sacrifice." Her voice trembled, teeth clenched as she fought against the tightening tendrils wrapping around her. "I will give you my fear." The attic resonated with a deafening silence. The shadows seemed to recoil, whispers ceasing, and for a brief moment, she felt lighter. Had she struck a bargain? Had her fierce resolve cut through the malignancy? But reality dawned cold and bitter. "You think that will save him?" The soft voice pulled her from her fleeting moment of hope, and the shadows gathered wildly. Her heart sank. What if it wasn't enough? Panic clawed at her throat again, boiling her blood as she thought of Jake. "No!" she shouted. "No! You will not take my son." In that moment, a blinding flash illuminated the attic, revealing a horrific visage of cruel faces wreathed in shadow, hungry for despair. The laughter erupted again, chilling and hollow. "Your sacrifice is not complete," it echoed. Sarah felt the abyss open before her, dark and consuming. With renewed vigor, she shrieked, "I will fight." And just like that, the shadows surged, ready to consume her resolve. The floor beneath her shuddered, leaving her teetering on the brink of darkness. Would she betray the light for her son or drown in the shadows, forever lost? What price would be demanded from her as the horror intensified? In the depths of her mind, a flicker of fear ignited. Would she win this battle before time ran out? Would Jake remain trapped in that torment forever? The shadows whispered again. Choose. The question hung in the air, heavy and threatening, as Sarah stood trembling, caught in a moment that felt like eternity. What would she be willing to sacrifice next? The shadows rushed toward her with a sinister intent, coiling tighter, squeezing every ounce of breath from her lungs. Panic bubbled, raw and suffocating. They were alive, these wisps of darkness, and their hunger was insatiable. The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in, heavy with generations of trapped souls. Choose! They hissed again, their voices merging into a cacophony, 1,000 whispers clawing at her sanity. The broken doll in the corner seemed to grin wider, its glassy eyes reflecting the torment swirling around her. I said I want to let you take him. Her voice tore from her throat, fierce yet laced with trembling uncertainty. But doubt gnawed at her, relentless. What more could she give? Desperation surged within, fueling a frantic surge of thoughts. Her fear was not enough. It wouldn't he save Jake? The shivering whisper seemed to understand her internal struggle, shifting closer, hungry for more than just fear. What if I sacrifice my memories? The words escaped her, punctuated by sobs. The thought churned deeper as shadows lingered, all the moments with Jake, the laughter, the hugs, the bedtime stories. Would erasing them set him free? Memories are treasures, the voice cooed, mocking her. They define you. Think long and hard before you barter for his life. Trembling, she realized those memories were the thread that still held her heart together. Without them, who would she be? Yet the thought of losing Jake, of him wandering forever in that twisted void, set a new wave of terror coursing through her veins. Another tremor rippled through the room. Instinctively, Sarah reached out, grasping the remnants of hope. No! I'll fight back. I will resist. The shadows balked at her declaration, and the laughing voices turned to a taunting chorus, twisting around her. Fight all you want, Sarah. You will drown in despair. Their laughter echoed against the wooden beams, reverberating with relentless malice. But then, a flicker in her heart ignited. What if I give you my dreams? She shouted into the frenzy. The dreams I have for Jake and for myself. Their sinister laughter faltered, and for a moment, she could almost hear the fluttering of hope in her chest. Dreams are delicate things. We like to play with them, the echoes whispered, hesitating. Clinging to that moment of indecision, she felt a jolt of power surge within. Take them then. It was a desperate gamble, her last chance to confront the encroaching darkness. Take my dreams, if it means letting him go free. A heavy silence enveloped the attic, thick and palpable. For a moment, the shadows seemed to hesitate, swirling with uncertainty, as if weighing her words. Then, with a wrathful howl, the shadows surged. Foolish woman! The dreams you wish to trade are only whispers of what could be. With that, they lunged toward her, claws of darkness piercing her defenses. Pain shot through her, an overwhelming surge of memories, dashed hopes, and the torment of choices all crashing together. Jake! She screamed as the darkness enveloped her, swallowing her whole. But as the world dimmed, a flicker of light ignited within the void. Jake's laughter pierced through the shadows, a beacon of purity and love in the heart of despair. Mom! His voice echoed, vibrant and real. Suddenly, she was rocked awake by the weight of a decision looming before her. The shadows ebbed, but only briefly, as Jake's muffled cries faded into the distance, pulling her deeper into her choice. What would the shadows extract now, and could she hold on for just a moment longer? Beneath the weight of the dark, a chilling realization began to settle. The darkness was hungry, and it was he done with her. Yet would Jake be lost forever, or could she still find a way to bring him back? The darkness receded slightly, but Sarah knew it was just a temporary retreat. The shadows loomed around her, sinister and relentless, eager for the next morsel of her soul. Each breath felt heavier, laden with the weight of twisted expectations. The broken doll in the corner remained eerily still, its smiling face now a grotesque reminder of the bargain she had just made. Did you think we'd leave you? This is just the beginning. The whispers infiltrated her mind, a hissing chorus that set her teeth on edge. Sarah pressed her palms to her ears, hoping to drown out their malevolence, but it seeped through like a foul oil. She knew they wanted more. They were far from satisfied. "Jake," she called again, desperation coating her voice. "I'll find you. I promise." But the shadows cackled back, their mocking laughter echoing through the attic's wooden beams. "The boy is ours. We'll teach you what true despair feels like." They swept closer, curling around her like thick smoke, and she felt their icy tendrils graze her skin. In the depths of her panic, Sarah felt an instinctive flicker of resolve ignite. Memories. They wanted her memories. What if she fought back in a different way? With a surge of determination, she recalled the happiest moments, each one etched vividly in her mind. The first time Jake rode a bike, how he'd laughed when he fell but jumped right back up. The night they camped out with flashlights and marshmallows, the sweetness of those shared giggles. "Those are mine," she shouted into the void, clutching the memories tightly. "You can't take them. They are the essence of us." The shadows recoiled, swirling in agitation. Memories are nothing but echoes, shadows of a life once lived. "You will lose them, Sarah. You are already fading." But even as they taunted her, she felt the tether to Jake pull tighter. His laughter, his warmth, filled her with strength. "You think you can break me?" she shot back, her heart racing against the panic. "I will do whatever it takes to save my son." Suddenly, a shriek pierced the attic, cutting through the darkness like a blade. The shadows dissipated momentarily, giving rise to a whirlwind of anguished wails. Sarah's heart thudded in her chest as she moved toward the nearest window, desperate to see outside. "Jake! Jake!" she cried, looking for the flicker of hope in a world turned dark. But the night was impenetrable, filled with an oppressive black that swallowed all light. Then a flash illuminated the room, and with it came a figure half-formed, shifting between existence and oblivion. It was Jake, or at least a shadow, his features twisted within the dark. Fear gripped Sarah's throat, as she struggled to comprehend the horror before her. "Mom!" he shouted, reaching out as if caught in some invisible cage. "Help me! I'm trapped!" The shadows surged again, their malicious laughter rising as they closed around him. "He belongs to us now," they taunted, wailing in ecstasy. "No!" Sarah lunged forward, but an invisible barrier slammed into her chest, pushing her back. She could feel the chill of despair creeping in, wrapping its tendrils around her soul. "Let him go!" The words burst forth, unbidden and powerful, but they were mere whispers against the cacophony of the darkness. She gritted her teeth, balling her fists. If she had been willing to sacrifice her dreams for Jake's safety, what else could she endure? "Is it going to take my life?" she gasped, the question echoing in the abyss. The shadows paused, the laughter fading. "Your life," one whispered, slithering closer. "Yes, everything you are." Her heart lurched, the weight of her decision pressing down. Sacrifice her everything? Could she bear that? And then, as the shadows began to close in, an image flickered in her mind, bright and clear. The two of them playing in the sun, pure joy unfurling like blossoms around them. It cried for her to hold on, to fight. "Take me!" she screamed, desperation spilling from her lips. "Not him! Just let my son go!" And with that declaration, the shadows froze, a pause filled with chilling potential. Behind their malevolent forms, Sarah sensed a fragile thread of power building, and in that moment, the true horror of her choice sank in. What would the darkness demand in return? A chill settled into the attic, as the shadows hung in a taut silence. In that suspended moment, Sarah felt their weight pressing against her, examining her plea. The darkness pulsed, an organism alive with hunger and malice. Jake's shadow flickered, the desperation in his eyes sending fresh waves of fear crashing over her. "Mom, please," he begged, his voice quaking, and Sarah's heart splintered. The shadows tightened their grip around him, seeping into his form like ink in water, twisting his silhouette even more. "Make a choice," rasped the same sinister voice, slithering between the creaking beams. "Your life for his soul. Such a fair trade, wouldn't you agree?" "Stop it!" she shouted, fists clenched, feeling the suffocation of despair wrap around her throat. "Let him go. He is just a boy." They surged forward, a wave of darkness ready to drown her. "Doesn't he matter?" they hissed in unison. "He is ours. Yours to give." Sweat trickled down her spine as images of Jake's joyful childhood flooded her mind. Was it worth it? Her heartbeat quickened, each pulse matched by the sinister whisperings. "Freedom comes at a price," they continued, their voices intertwined, twisting in her ears. "To save one, the other must be extinguished. You know this truth well, Sarah." She staggered back, her breath hitching, eyes darting to the window, to the world she had known. Outside, the moon cast an eerie light, illuminating dust motes swirling like tiny spirits trapped between worlds. Would releasing the shadows mean losing herself to them entirely? "Mom, please! I can't breathe." Jake's shadow thrashed against the restraints of the dark, an anguished wail piercing through her resolve. "I can't," she faltered, caught between love and fear, between sacrificing her life or living in eternal torment. "What will you do to him?" "Just let him go." Another swell of laughter erupted, boisterous and cruel. "He will become one with us, a shadow of his former self. But it's up to you enough." The scream erupted before she could think of consequences. There was suddenly fire within her bones, igniting a fierce fight against the improbable odds. If memories were indeed her strongest weapon, she would forge the most vivid ones, let them wash over the shadows like light cutting through fog. She closed her eyes, lungs filled with air, conjuring every cherished moment she had shared with Jake, laughter, joy, love. They were shields against the encroaching darkness. "I won't lose him," she declared, voice resolute and defiant. "I'll keep him safe." The shadows thrashed in response, a tempest of howling winds and hate. "You think you can defy us? You are nothing but skin and bone. Your essence will ignite our power." A shudder ran through her, the reality of this sinister covenant pushing down hard. Still, she held on tightly to her son's laughter, the weight of every precious second filling her heart. "I'll fight. I swear it." "And you shall?" The shadows bellowed, their tones shifting from laughter to shrieks of fury. "But know this, each moment you cling to him, we will take from you." As their forms twisted violently, she felt a piece of herself get ripped away, her own memories flickering like dying flames. Her figure shimmered, becoming translucent, caught in a tug-of-war with the shadowy forms. "Jake!" Her voice ripped through the ether, desperate and raw. "I want to let go." "Not now." The darkness writhed again, forming a whirlpool that sought to suck her in, drowning her spirit. The ground trembled beneath her feet like the earth itself was alive with fear. But suddenly, a memory surfaced, one she hadn't thought of in years. Striding confidently across the playfield, hand in hand, their laughter rising like a beacon of hope, a blinding light erupted from her chest, illuminating the shadows momentarily. But could it hold long enough for her to pull him back from the edge? "Mom!" Jake's voice trembled through the chaos, echoing through her mind. "I'm right here. Fight!" In that hair-thin moment between senses, Sarah gathered all her strength for a last stand. Could she defy the darkness, as it loomed? Closer, she felt a terrible answer whisper back. And suddenly, right before her, the attic began to tremble. Then, everything went black. What had she unleashed in her defiance? Sarah awoke, gasping for breath, the air thick with an unnatural chill. She blinked against the darkness, her heart pounding like a war drum. Where was Jake? Panic surged within her, thrumming through her veins like wildfire. Jake! She called out, the sound of her voice swallowed by the oppressive quiet. A thick mist filled the attic, twisting and curling like tendrils of despair, flickering ominously in the faint light that seemed to pulse from somewhere deep within her core. Movement caught her eye. Shapes lurked in the corners, shadows blending into the mist. They seemed to beckon, no, taunt her, whispering promises of torment. You made your choice, dear Sarah, they giggled, their voices an ugly cacophony that scraped against her sanity. Now, what will you sacrifice to find him? Frantic, she felt the essence of her being unraveling, strands of her memories untwisting and floating away. I didn't want this. I just wanted to save him. Tears blurred her vision, and instinctively, she reached to the place in her chest where the light had burned moments before. It flickered weakly now, a dying ember in a storm of malevolence. Sweet, sweet sacrifice. One shadow slithered forward, its form twisting and reshaping, grotesque eyes fixating on her. Embrace the truth, we thrive on suffering. She felt the coldness seep deeper, slicing through her thoughts, turning them into fragments of doubt. What has happened to Jake? Sarah shouted into the void, heart racing. Where is he? Lost, the figure hissed, its grin devoid of warmth, a macabre reflection of the love she felt for her son. You cling so tightly, yet it matters not. He is ours, and only the darkness offers a way back with that. Another wave of shadows surged at her, smothering the light within. Her memories felt like a distant echo, shattered glass scattered on the ground. But rage flared within her. She wouldn't let the dark win. Jake, can you hear me? She cried, thoughts spinning with desperation. She squeezed her eyes shut, escaping the chaos for a moment as she focused solidly on him, their games, his laughter, the light in his eyes. Every fragment was precious, and she clutched them fiercely. Then a sound sliced through the darkness, his voice. Mom! I'm still here. Jake! In that instant, she felt the whisper of hope ignite within. The shadows recoiled, hissing angrily, their grip faltering against her resolve. But just as quickly, they retaliated with a tempest, a sinister wind that howled around her. Your son is drowning without you. No! The cry erupted from her lips. He is fighting just like I am. In a surge of defiance, Sarah opened her eyes, confronting the leering shadows. I will not let you take him. And in that moment, the balance shifted. The light inside her pulsed with renewed vigor, illuminating the attic in a blinding glow. Shapes twisted, screams echoed around her, and the ground quaked violently beneath her feet. Not this time, she roared, her voice rising above the chaos. You won't have a single part of him or me. With every ounce of her strength, she hurled herself into the center of the darkness. The light exploded outward, capturing the shadows in its embrace, peeling them away from Jake. Mom! He cried, raw with fear but clear in the tumult. Hold on! Sarah shouted, the glow enveloping her completely. She could feel the shadows shriek in despair, their forms disintegrating into the ether. But even in that blinding brightness, an unsettling echo lingered, a chilling promise, vibrating through the fabric of reality. This is only the beginning, Sarah. You've only delayed the inevitable, and with that, the light flickered once more, dimming perilously. Would it be enough to save them both? The attic trembled as the shadows regrouped, drawn back, vicious and vengeful. A new figure appeared at the edge of the flickering light, dark yet oddly familiar. Mom, what did you do? Jake's voice trembled, fear threading through his words. But Sarah couldn't answer, not yet. The battle was far from over, and outside, the world felt as if it were holding its breath. What had she truly unleashed in her defiance? And would their fight lead to salvation or something far worse? The shadows swirled like angry bees, their dark forms darting, skirting the edges of the dying light. A weight pressed down on Sarah, suffocating her will. She could feel Jake's presence beside her, trembling like a leaf in the wind. "Mom, please," his plea echoed in the suffocating stillness. The familiar warmth she had fought to preserve flickered beside her, balancing on the edge of oblivion. "What is happening? Make them go away." "I'm trying, Jake. I promise." Her voice cracked under the strain, desperation clawing at her throat. The shadows were relentless, a tidal wave trying to pull them under. The sinister whispers morphed into howls, like banshees wailing for vengeance. "Stay close to me." A shadow lunged, snatching at her hair, its icy tendril dragging painfully through her scalp. "You think you can hold on to the light? You've tasted our despair. You will never escape." It hissed, a chilling tone that shook her to the core. Breathing raggedly, Sarah shifted her focus. She wrapped her arms around Jake as tightly as she could, willing every ounce of her love into a shield. "Stay with me, sweetheart. Remember the fort we built in the living room? The games we played?" The images came flooding back, but the shadows pressed closer. They feasted on the most crucial pieces of her memories, gnawing like rodents at her heart. Just as she felt her grip loosening, a sudden thought pierced through, sharper than any pain. "Jake. The box. The one from the attic. The one with the toys?" he echoed, confusion flowing through his words. "Yes. We need the light. I'll find it." Summoning every ounce of her strength, Sarah unhinged herself from the clutches of despair. The shadows shrieked in agony as she fought backward through the memories, reaching for the light that had flickered out. Images formed around her, a wooden box with faded colors, nestled in the corner of the attic, filled with toys that had kept them both smiling. That was a part of what protected them. "Mom, don't leave me," Jake whimpered, the flickers of the dark closing in like a vice. "I won tea. I promise." The floor beneath her quaked, vibrating through the mist swirling around them. But every step was a fight, shadows crawling up her legs, dragging her back. She felt them gnawing at her mind, whispering insidious secrets that wound tighter around her like ropes. "You know you can't save him." The cold crept into her heart while she wrestled against the shadows. "You're wrong," she shouted defiantly, summoning the last vestiges of strength. "You can't have him. Just let him go." A surge of light spiraled through her arm, igniting memories of laughter, hugs, and late-night stories. The essence of every happy moment crackled in the air, a beacon against the encroaching darkness. She focused, pulling the vision to the forefront. The old, dusty box finally emerged in her mind's eye, shining brighter than the sun. "Jake. The box. Picture it. We're bringing it to you." "Picture what, Mom?" he cried, panic clawing up his throat. "Everything we loved. The hope, the light, the toys." She squeezed her eyes shut, anchoring her focus. In the suffocating chaos, a shimmer from her heart wove itself into the air, mirroring their bond. Light spread like wildfire through the attic, clashing violently with the shadows. The figure screamed, writhing as if burned, filling the space with discord. Every ounce of her love bolstered her resolve. But just as the darkness began to scatter, revealing fleeting glimpses of warmth and hope, she felt a new presence loom above them, a chilling figure, impossibly tall, draped in shadows that flickered with sinister glee. "You think you can just erase us?" it taunted, eyes glowing like dying coals. "You have only begun to sacrifice." A surge of icy energy rushed through her as fear clawed at her throat. "What do you want from us?" "Everything," it whispered, a promise wrapped in malice. Suddenly, the light flickered ominously again, teetering on the brink. She could feel Jake's grip start to loosen. Would they lose everything she had fought to protect? A shiver of unease prickled her skin. The end was waiting just around the corner, and the shadows weren't finished. In that moment of uncertainty, Sarah realized they hadn't just fought to find Jake. They needed to unravel a far darker mystery. What fresh horrors lay hidden in the flicker of the unknown? With breath barely escaping her lips, Sarah steeled herself. She had to confront the truth lurking in the shadows. Could she find the strength to uncover the past? And what if the shadows wanted more than her love? What if they craved her very soul? With unwavering resolve, Sarah stood at the precipice between light and darkness. The cold shadows thrashed around her, vying for control, but instinct kicked in. The love for Jake surged, a protective fire igniting within her. She knew they'd been battling for too long. This would end now. "You'll not take him," she shouted, voice wrestling against the encroaching chaos. The towering figure pulsed with an unsettling energy. "You assume you can thwart the dark," it hissed, "but every flicker of your hope feeds us. Your denial only strengthens the shadows. Stop. Just stop. I see you for what you are." Sarah's heartbeat thundered against the oppressive atmosphere, her courage climbing. "You thrive on fear and despair, but I refuse to be your prey. I want to let go of Jake." In that instant, bolts of memory rushed back to her, moments bright enough to pierce the darkness. She recalled their night under the stars, laughter twinkling against the backdrop of the universe, stories spun from dreams and love. Channeling every bit of this powerful emotion, she felt warmth begin to glow within her once again. "Every piece of me loves him," Sarah declared, the fire swelling as she flexed her will. "Our bond is stronger than your hunger." The light intensified, a bubble of radiance pushing back against the malignant essence, and she saw Jake's silhouette fighting against the shadows, calling out for her. "Mom, I need you." His voice echoed, frail and worried. It tugged at her heart, weaving through the dark like a fragile thread. Sarah plowed through the pulsing dread, white-hot determination licked at her heels. "I'm coming, Jake. We'll find a way out together." And in that moment, she pushed back against the smothering darkness. Her love ignited an explosion of light that emanated from the depths of her being, coalescing in a radiant orb around Jake. This was their refuge, their strength wrapped in hope. Enough. The shadow figure recoiled, hissing and screeching. "You dare resist?" The very essence of it shuddered. The darkness never forgets. It takes and takes until there's nothing left of you. "Then take me," she yelled defiantly. "Take all that I am, but let my son go." The light around her swelled, surging forth like a wave, each pulse a heartbeat of resolve that echoed in the dark. For a fleeting heartbeat, silence hung in the air. Shadows writhed as if shaken by her proclamation. The darkness intertwined, hesitating at the notion of loss. "You offer yourself? Foolishness! Call it what you want. You can't have him. Not if it means consuming my soul." With that, Sarah turned inward, feeling the warmth of every loving memory she'd shared with Jake, a metronome of light against despair. Jake's image flickered before her, clearer in her mind's eye than ever. "Mom, be careful," he urged, panic threading through his voice. "Don't give them what they want." But she shook her head, the weight of her choice firm in her heart. "I'm fighting for us." The shadows recoiled, but she pushed closer, channeling every ounce of her spirit. "You'll never break us. I will not let the darkness swallow my love." In response, the shadow figure shrieked, a horrific chorus emanating from its form. "You think you can defy the darkness? You are already lost." With resolve solid as stone, Sarah stepped forward. The light enveloped her, wrapping her in warmth, promising protection. "You cannot own me. You will not take my son," she screamed, letting her heart bleed into each word. Suddenly, it happened. The shadows surged upon her, claws snapping, and the darkness screamed, swirling around glassy sounds of agony. But as her love pulsed, a blinding light erupted from within her, cleaving the abyss in two. A barrier of brilliance enveloped Jake, illuminating the valley of despair. "Jake," she yelled, voice laced with fervor. "See my light. It's our hope. It will never fade as long as we believe." Together, they reached for each other across the expanse, silhouettes tethered by an unbreakable bond. The shadows writhed in anger, but finally recoiled, the scream of the dark burgeoning into a frenzy of despair as it could not penetrate their glow. The figure staggered and began to fade, laughter twisted into agonizing cries, retreating away as the light grew. In that pivotal moment, it shattered. Like glass bursting into fragmented shards, the echoes of very darkness screamed before vanishing altogether, leaving only lingering shadows in its wake. "Mom!" Jake's voice exploded into the light. Just as Sarah grasped for him, the warmth surged, and the attic filled with a breathtaking glow. The fog dissipated, revealing the familiar contours of their home, bathed in comforting light. Sarah dropped to her knees, the overwhelming relief washing over her. Her heart pounded, alive beneath the weight of dread that had pressed against them for too long. "Jake!" she gasped, wrapping her arms around him as he tumbled into her embrace. Relief surged, igniting the air between them. In that moment, they were free, entwined in the warm glow of love and hope. She kissed his forehead, feeling the warmth of his small body against hers, tears streaming down her face. "We did it, we're safe," she whispered, feeling the lingering dread flutter away like a projected film of nightmares evaporating in the dawn light. But they both knew it was over. The shadows may have retreated, but their echoes whispered in the unknown quarters of her mind, asking if they had truly escaped it all. "Mom, are they really gone?" Jake peered into her eyes, his innocence cut through the fabric of the haze, blind to the uncertainty clinging tight in the recess of her heart. Sarah took a deep breath, wrapping her arms tighter around him, her mind racing. "For now, sweetheart. But it's going to take every piece of love we have to keep them away. Always." And beneath the remnants of the engulfing dusk, they found solace nestled in the light, determined to face whatever would come, together. In Maplewood, the whispers quieted, but Sarah realized the strength to protect her son lay not only in the brightness, but within the fragile, resilient heart of a mother willing to fight for the love she treasured above all else. Now, it's your turn to keep the energy going. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Share your thoughts, and instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because you all know real fans understand the importance of supporting the channel. Don't wait even one more second, do it now.